The first game of the season, who the Ravens play?
Oh, no, New England.
Patriots.
Yeah. They play like crappy teams.
Okay. All right. If they gave up 42 against Miami and still had 11 points.
Because they had a 6-point TD return.
All right. They gave up 26 against New England and still had 11 points.
Doesn't matter how much they gave up. Like, New England was fighting from behind.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how many points they give up.
I didn't say it was about how many points. I said their defense looks bad to me.
They had 3 picks against New England, 2 picks against
That's because it's New England.
All right.
Mike check.
We're good.
Who's that? Who's that?
Mike check. Oh, he caught that.
There you go. There's your boy. There's your boy.
That's my boy.
Okay.
Let's go.
I've been dreaming about you. Wish I knew what you were up to. Wish I can hit you up just to say I'ma set up a DP and I like you to be with me. We could laugh about.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with 2-time FFPC champion AB. Next to him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, a quarter of the season is over.
The fantasy season.
A quarter of the fantasy season.
Man, you better not
Good
miss that.
correction.
Yeah.
We got the game on as we're potting right now.
Yeah.
Thursday night game, Miami Bengals. But let's talk fantasy for a second. I want to go through positions. Let's talk about the running backs for a second. I want to go through biggest surprise and biggest disappointment so far. For me, the biggest surprise is James Robinson with Jacksonville. Listen, he was not being drafted like the workhorse back that he's been so far this season. A lot of people were drafting ETN, back end of the 4th round-ish, middle 4th, back end of the 4th.
Third
round.
At one
That's
point,
a third.
late second.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Third round, I would probably say the average depth position for him.
Yeah, so actually ETN could be my biggest disappointment, but my biggest surprise so far is James Robinson, his workload, what he means to that offense at this point.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Biggest surprise so far this season for running backs?
I mean, to me, honestly, like the whole position in itself. And this is the first quarter show, so I think the reason that I like doing it in quarters is because that's exactly how I view the season. I don't view the season as, okay, the first 3 weeks are going to be, are going to represent what happens the next 12 to 14 weeks. And so what we've seen in the first quarter is just running backs as a whole have not seemed to kind of be those league-winning types. They've not seemed to be a position that provides, steady point production or high-end point production. And this is not a trend that I necessarily, am convinced is going to continue, but it is something that's a little bit worrisome. Definitely you can argue that, okay, maybe it's a little bit more of a passing league. And I think to some degree, I think also that teams are, and team defenses will start kind of catching up a bit. And at some point, teams will have to adjust. And you can also argue that we're seeing a lot more committees, and we were kind of aware of that already coming into the season. But I think, honestly, I think it's one of those things where give it a little bit of time. O-line's potentially gelling. Again, defenses evolving, teams having to adjust. We may see the return of the running back or things at least leveling out. So, but yeah, I've just been shocked at the position as a whole. If you were to redraft right now, there's not necessarily one running back I think that you would just be so excited to take over the others. And you look throughout, and even at this stage, trying to predict which running back is going to, be a top 5, top 10 guy the rest of the way, it's still very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And so, as far as like the biggest surprise, I'm definitely in agreement with you. I think the James Robinson, for multiple reasons, seeing a guy come off the Achilles, I think, I gotta have, you almost have to kind of rethink now players coming off Achilles, or at least give some, some credence to the idea that they may be able to come back that first year and be productive. So that's a big one. And I think, the other surprise for me would be, Actually, I mean, that's pretty much it, to be quite honest. I mean, everybody else, like, it's kind of, what we anticipated, what we foresaw. There was some other disappointments. I think the Miami backfield as a whole is a disappointment. Obviously, we're aware of the Tua injury at this point, but this is a team that looks like they either can't run block and they can't run the ball, or a team that really just, wants to operate through their best weapons, their wide receivers. And so that backfield as a whole, even if, to me, I think, most of it is the one that you want to have right now, but still, even that is kind of a shaky start and a shaky proposition the way they use those guys. We've seen Edmonds used multiple times in the red zone, obviously getting that touchdown tonight. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. To me, I'm kind of looking at it, the position as a whole, but I expect a lot to change and things to kind of get,
Yeah. Yeah, Dio, biggest surprise so far, biggest disappointment.
So just really first off to speak on what y'all are talking about, I kind of see things a lot differently than kind of what y'all were speaking of specifically.
Of course.
Speaking of James Robinson, he's been fantasy-wise good. I guess this is us talking fantasy, so that's the most relevant information. But I think actually the way he's performed hasn't been as great as what most people would assume it's been. He's had, in these games, these one or two big runs where he ends up scoring these touchdowns that kind of inflate his numbers. But if you really look closer at the numbers, he's not really getting much yardage in his other runs. He's getting a great workload, which definitely is what you want in fantasy football. You want as many opportunities as possible. But as far as the yardage he's gaining with these carries, they're not as vast as what you would typically assume with how great he's been. Again, it's been inflated with touchdowns. He scored a touchdown every single game thus far. If you take that touchdown away, and of course, points are points. If it happens, you have to count it. But, if you do take the touchdown away, his numbers don't look that good at all. And he's not getting that much passing work. He's not being involved in the 2-minute drill. He's not their passing back. So that's kind of what I would say for that. Now, of course, you can say surprising as far as his fantasy production. He has done quite well for relative to where he was drafted. And the owners of him that have been playing him are definitely happy. They're not complaining. And most likely they're going to ride it out. And I would definitely recommend riding it out. I'm definitely not saying anything like trade him or anything like that. But as far as I guess more so, I don't know if it's something that's very sustainable at all. And again, if you take away those touchdowns, and I don't expect him to score a touchdown every game. Of course, he might. It's not impossible. It's just unlikely. But if you take those touchdowns away, it's not as great of a look. And then as far as the running back position and the wide receiver position, you were saying how.
But I will say this one thing to interject for James Robinson. The one thing that is going in his favor, at least to date, we'll see how they look against the Eagles, is that he's on a good team. The defense looks like it could be solid. The offense looks like it could move the ball. And
to be determined. They lost to the Commanders.
Well, what I'm saying is
they beat the Chargers, who's losing everybody.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not really ready to say they're a good team. Now they've looked good.
They look good. Okay.
And they've been in positive game scripts, which has benefited him.
And their schedule coming up is not the hardest schedule. Okay.
Right.
So
they're playing the Eagles this week, so we'll see.
So
this is really going to be a defining game for them this early part of the season. So that will really tell us a lot.
Yeah, but for where you got him, though, that's to me the surprise is two things: the value
at which you got him, from his draft position,
and then the idea that he was able to come back off an Achilles. Because those explosive runs, like there's a lot of running backs that are not having explosive runs, and I don't even know you want to call them explosive, but they're long runs. And he's taking them to the house.
We could look at Foreman last year, though. Foreman had some long runs.
I mean, that's last year. We're talking about 2022.
No, I'm just saying he's coming off an Achilles as well. So we've seen it.
But that was 2-3 years. This was like 6-9 months. I mean, this is like really a short period.
I agree. But again, as far as when we were speaking of the running back and wide receiver position, after week one, obviously probably everybody in the fantasy world would agree with you. Wide receivers by far were. All the wide receiver heavy or main teams were the ones that were really doing well. But if you really look at the totality of the season thus far, and right now we're speaking after week 3 with week 4 about to come, besides a few wide receivers, and I'm saying maybe about 3 or 4, none of them have really just been off the wall, crazy, production wise.
Yeah.
You look at somebody like Justin Jefferson, and obviously he's the easy target right now, but he had this great week 1, scored probably number 1 in fantasy receiver points, maybe number 2 behind Cup.
Yeah.
But then since then, he hasn't really been productive at all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive you probably had somebody on your bench that outscored him.
Yeah.
So that's that 1 week kind of again inflates or skews his numbers, because if you look at totality, he's probably looking pretty good. You look at somebody like Stephon Diggs. Well,
let's not get into receivers, but
okay, let's not get into it. But
yeah, I think my point with that statement was like, even though we seen the receivers have boom and bust weeks, their boom weeks have been boom, and we just haven't seen that boom week.
And that's the other point I'm going to make.
We haven't seen the boom weeks from the running backs.
The reason we haven't seen the boom weeks for the running backs, honestly, is as simple as they're not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
The wide receivers are scoring the touchdown. The running backs are not scoring the touchdown.
Yeah.
I think as the season progresses,
100%
that grind,
agree.
the colder weather, things like that. When the game slows down for both sides, now everybody has tape on each other.
And we may be looking at Mixon scoring his second TD right here. So,
you see, I think it's actually going to happen pretty soon.
Yeah.
If you really look, even last week, Dalvin Cook finally got in the end zone. And you made a point as far as these committees, and I agree. We are seeing, pretty apparent committees thus far. If these committees, we don't know what's going to happen. They might stay committees, but I always believe talent is going to prevail. Cream rises to the crop. Cream rises to the top. Coaches, when they're in dire positions, are going to try to play their best players. So the split of the workload, it's interesting at the moment, but I more so look at what is the team doing? Are they running near the goal line, or are they passing? You know, and I am seeing a lot of running near the goal line. You know, so I think once that touchdown luck kind of goes into play, like you said today, Mixon, he started this game scoring a touchdown. That's what we love to see. He might get another one now. He's in the position.
But who's your most disappointing running
okay,
back?
I'm sorry. I was going on a tangent. But yeah, my most disappointing running back at this moment actually is Eckler.
Okay.
That's a good one.
He's the guy where I expected a lot, really, from that whole offense. And, they've been dealing with injuries from the quarterback to the left tackle to their best defensive players. So I get it, but, excuses are tools. So Eckler, I always felt like he was the type of player where he's game script independent. Like, if they're in a positive game script, they're going to run the ball with him. He's going to get his points. If they're in a negative game script, they're going to probably give him a lot of dump offs, a lot of passes. He's going to get his points. So far, they've kind of been in both ends, especially that Chiefs game. They start off, great, and then they end up having to try to come back. But we still haven't seen him really have this great workload.
Yeah.
He's been getting a lot of catches, though.
Yeah.
He's kind of living off those catches. I think he had like 10 or so targets.
But the
role, did he get in? No. Oh, I don't know. I don't think he got it.
No, he did.
Is that Mixon? Yeah.
Mixon.
All right, good, because I'm kind of underweight on
the
Mixon,
role,
so I like that.
the role that he's been playing, as far as even just having the carries and just the snap share.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of Sony Michel. We're seeing a lot of Joshua,
and in
Kelly.
the red zone too.
So
scary.
That what you drafted him for is like, he's talented. He's gonna eventually, get into the end zone. He's gonna produce, but just if he's not getting as big of the pie as he used to be, a little bit concerning.
The crazy thing is, like, if you had to go back and redo a draft right now, with the idea that I'm gonna think like long term, I'm gonna think over the entire season. I'm gonna try not to let
probably draft the same way.
Exactly. Like, you would almost draft the exact same way, because you'd be like, it comes down to like just kind of understanding or at least not letting yourself be taken away by like some of these, big performances, these grand performances, and understanding that like these guys aren't going to score 30, 40 points week in and week out.
Justin Jefferson is the perfect example. Such a simple, easy, apparent example of how it can be. Because the Justin Jefferson owner is not like they don't want Justin Jefferson on their team.
Right.
But at the same time, these last 2 weeks, Justin Jefferson's kind of killed
kind of hard.
So even Kamara, you're not going to give up on Kamara, but he's not really producing. So.
Well, you brought up Dalvin Cook. What about Dalvin Cook? Because he's not in the top 20 fantasy producing running backs right now. He was going back end of the first-ish, front end of the second in some leagues. But like to not be in the top 20 right now, like how is Dalvin Cook not in your top 20?
He had one bad game. That was that Philly game, and that's really where he just kind of got written out of the game script. And the coach, what I like hearing was the coach come back and said, that was inexcusable. We got to get this man the ball, and they ended up doing that, and he got the touchdown. Yeah. I think there's still a lot more work that can be done in the passing game. I'm hoping they can get a little bit more creative from that standpoint. I think. We heard all season, or if you kind of listen to the tea leaves, that Cousins was just dominating camp. Yeah, and you kind of see it in the games where he's really just looking downfield. He's looking downfield, and he's not taking a lot of these sort of kind of easy dump offs.
I think that whole offense that offense as a whole still is working out the kinks.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Especially us, we expected so much from that offense with the new coach, Justin Jefferson, the third year in the league. Adam Thielen being old but still being able to be that possession touchdown maker. And then Cook was doing great last year. Yeah. You would think with the weapons, the offensive system, everything was just going to open up for him. And we just really haven't seen that yet. Yeah. It could be slightly due to, that Eagles game being on primetime television, everybody watching it just made them look so bad. Yeah. That probably gives everybody a sour taste in the mouth. But I think we might come to realize very soon that the Eagles defense probably is just that defense. Yeah. Where it's like
it could be.
Everybody's going to struggle against them.
That's one defense I've been kind of holding on to. I've been like, I want to see it. I want to see it. Yeah. And that's a team too. Like I think I can't wait for that Eagles Jags team, because you watch the Eagles and I'm honestly not just super impressed. Mm-hmm. They've done very well, and I've been very happy. I'm impressed. But I'm just honestly not that impressed. I feel like the defensive schemes and fronts that they've been seeing, particularly, secondaries that they've been going up, I feel like a lot of his, RPO looks, a lot of the play calling, they've hit on and he's executed, which is great. But I haven't seen anything that's just he's, reading defenses so amazingly, or he's going through his progressions.
I think I'm impressed by them is because I feel like everything they've tried to do has worked for them. Mm-hmm. They've shown that they can run the ball. They've shown that they can have Hurts throw it downfield. Mm-hmm. They show they can have Hurts throw it short or intermediate and have the receiver catch after the run. They've shown that they can use an array of weapons. They've used A.J. Brown. They've used Devontae Smith. They've used Goddard. Yeah. They've even used Quez Watkins at times.
Yeah. I just don't think that they're that good.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely see. In reality, man, football teams evolve throughout the season. Yeah. So, just the way a team looks now, we can't guarantee they're going to look that way at the end of the season. So, and that goes for all the teams. So, we'll see what happens.
All right, so I'm going to list the top 5 running backs right now. Give me the one of that top 5 who you expect not to be there at the end of the season. Okay. All right. So Saquon is top fantasy running back right now.
Yes, sir.
Shout out Saquon.
Nick Chubb, James Robinson, CEH, and Andre Swift.
Oh, that's easy.
Who's most likely not to be in the
top? I'm going to still go CEH. 100% CEH.
I would say Swift.
Swift may be able to miss 2 or 3 games and come back and just give you some explosive.
And still give you more.
But CEH, nah, man.
The reason I say Swift just misses games so much.
Yeah.
Even though he's going to miss these 2, we say it's 2, 3, it might even be more. But even when he comes back, keep in mind, he went into the last game with the injury already. Yeah. They weren't sure he was going to play. He just, every season, he's broken down. So if I was a betting man, obviously I'd say Swift. Now, if Swift stayed healthy, if all these players stayed healthy, I agree. CH.
Chase Edmonds is not a running back. He's not a running. And I've watched every single carry this season. He is not a running back.
The thing with Chase Edmonds though is
this is not the system.
If it's not Mostert, it's got to be him, right? They don't really have other running backs they're using.
At no point this season will he be able to run in between the tackles.
I don't care. That's never been his game. Yeah, that's never. But I believed.
But what I'm saying is, so if Mostert goes down, they will have to bring somebody in because he cannot do it.
Yeah. Don't they have a zone blocking scheme, or they didn't implement that?
No, they do have a zone blocking scheme. He just has difficulty.
He can't function that either.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they ran more gap in Arizona anyway, but still, this is
the 49ers system.
No, I'm saying, Edmonds was in Arizona where they ran, they ran more of a gap scheme.
All right. So let's move to receivers for a second. Let's do the same thing. Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment. You know, when I think about like fantasy receivers, I think my biggest surprise is Waddle. Like I didn't see Waddle. I didn't see
the wrong answer, dude.
No, because no. Waddle is my biggest.
He did it last
surprise.
year.
The answer to the question is Amon St. Brown.
No, see,
He's the biggest surprise. He's the one that's.
But he did it last year too.
Yeah.
Those are not
I just
surprises.
think Tua
But
could.
where Amon was being drafted, he was drafted like a wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Waddle was
Yeah.
still drafted like a back end wide receiver 1.
Are they around the same?
No, Waddle was going in the 4th. Amon St. Brown was going in the 6th and then started creeping up to the 5th.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
All right.
He was in the 6th at some point, and then he
started
went-
creeping up when the
I'm
buzz
still
started
surprised
building
by
up.
Waddle. Like I just didn't think. Again, prayers up to Tua. I just didn't see Waddle.
But you know what that's
having-
a function of? And Waddle's great. I'm not taking anything away from it. And one reason why I was, it's hard. I think it was hard to be on Hill and Waddle. It's hard
Right,
to say,
right.
I'm going in, I'm trying to get as much as possible. Because that means you have to have a lot of faith in Tua.
Right.
But really, I think where at least what I'll say I missed on this situation was not really taking a look at this Miami Dolphins team and understanding that they were not going to be able to run the way that we all thought they were going to be able to run, or be able to incorporate the run game. Because we weren't sure are they going to utilize their best options, which are the receivers. Are they is he's coming from San Francisco? Is he going to want to try to pound the ground? And watching it after the fact. I'm just like, how did I not see this?
but
And it's
wait.
such a narrow target tree.
And that's the biggest significant factor.
But
on
yeah,
it.
so you got a team that really is not running, a team that has a narrow target tree, and this is the kicker. And we talked about this in the all season, and we talk about teams that do this. When they're in the red zone, what do they like to do mostly? They like to pass most. They like to pass more. Even their running backs, when they're scoring touchdowns, they're passing TDs. So that's like the perfect situation. I think if we would have known that their run pass splits were going to be what they currently are, Tua would have been like a locked third,
I think-
second round pick.
I think the biggest factor, though, that we just missed, and I don't even think we really could have figured it out, was they're not using any other receivers but Tyreek and Waddle.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like
Yeah.
they told
Yeah.
them, you're playing the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, get your track shoes on,
Yeah.
They're barely even using Gesicki, the tight end.
Right.
So it's like every pass play is going to either wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2.
Receiver 2,
And you can put those guys however way you want to. They're still getting the targets anyway. So,
And the best thing about it too, you love coaches like this who use motion, who put their receivers in the slots, in the backfield, on the outside, as opposed to this idiot. Let me pull that back.
Chill
All right.
As opposed to what's going on in Arizona, where his wide receivers literally line up in the same spot no matter what. Use play action pass.
Yeah.
Use pre-snap motion.
Yeah.
Incorporate things that at least make defenses have to think and be concerned. And so you love seeing that with the Dolphins. We talked about in the off season trying to draft, trying to figure out, our team's going to be trying to incorporate wide receivers more in the backfield, incorporate more of a Debo role, a hybrid role. Not that they're going to be giving them 10 carries a game, but those we talked about lining up in the backfield and then scheming a play where your wide receiver is lined up against a linebacker. That's just money. Those are fantasy points in the bucket right there. And we're seeing that with Tyreek Hill. We'll probably end up seeing with Waddle a little bit. So this is, he's definitely proven, at least thus far. We'll see if teams catch up. He's proven thus far that he's a very, good he's a good offensive coordinator, head coach, play caller, game schemer. I mean, just everything about this offense I really love. And two is just showing out was showing out as far as him being able to, really make all of these options fantasy viable. Even Gesicki from time to time looks fantasy viable.
Yeah. Adayo, biggest surprise so far this season, receiver.
I already told you the answer.
Who?
Amon St. Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Amon St. Brown. The guy's top 5 in fantasy wide receivers right now.
Yeah, but I think we all kind of saw that though. Well, maybe not top 5,
No,
but I saw him being.
I guarantee you,
a top
people
10
were not
receiver.
seeing it like that because he would have been drafted.
Yeah,
much
I have
higher.
too. And they're not really surprises. They're just they were kind of unknowns, and we
I'm
had to
surprised
kind
you
of.
didn't go with your boy.
Who?
Curtis Samuel, man.
That's not a surprise, though.
Oh, come on.
Look. Okay, look. Look.
Now, we're not saying
Straight face.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I told y'all last year, Curtis Samuel, the role they were going to give this guy, I think y'all were trying to compare T-Mac and Curtis Samuel too much. Y'all thought when I was talking about Curtis Samuel, y'all thought I envisioned him playing the role T-Mac plays. And that's not Curtis Samuel's role. If you remember back in college, Curtis Samuel played a lot of running back.
Yeah.
You know, he
We were
actually,
talking about that earlier.
you know, he was built for that. And T-Mac, as we've seen, he tends to be, I don't want to say a field stretcher, but he tends to take these deeper routes.
Yeah.
You know, bonds, posts, out, deep outs, you know, like that. So, again, with the Commanders, the Washington football team at the time, give him that type of contract, them not having a major wide receiver 2 there, somebody
Yeah.
to help take the workload off of T-Mac, all he had to do was get into the game. He was going to show out. Now, obviously, unfortunately, he had the injury. I had to stop talking about him, you know, hyping up. And then come this season, I couldn't talk about it as much because everybody was already rolling their eyes at me. But, you know, he's starting to show that, you know, all he needed was to be healthy and get the role, you know.
Yeah.
And he's not the fastest guy out there.
No, that's
he's
a
not
great
the
call.
strongest.
That's a great call.
But he's getting the opportunities.
Yeah. I
You
think
know,
you were one of the, literally the only person I know that, you know, everybody's on everybody. Like, there's no hidden gems. But to me, it's how you talk about a player. If you can kind of define their role, if you can, you know, talk about them from a standpoint of like, I'm not drafting a lot of Terry McLaurin because I
that was
feel
from
like
64?
Curtis Samuel, 54.
That was a 64?
No, I think that was 54 yards.
It just says 64 on the.
Is that 64? Damn.
they celebrate like it's a 64.
Okay. But yes, you were talking about Curtis Samuel in the same breath and same vein that you were talking about Terry McLaurin and being able to produce as much. Right. So I like, you definitely deserve a lot of credit for that. And for that reason, like, and that's the thing, you know, going back to the Logan Thomases, being aware of these guys, like really being aware of these guys, made me, it was so easy for me to see, oh, Curtis Samuel's on the waiver, $450 fab. Yeah. While other people were like, man, maybe that's a 1 week fab. No, I was like, no. $450, like this is like you know, as long as he's healthy, this could be an every week thing where he leads his team in targets.
That's the thing that I'm still when somebody gets an injury that, you know, lingers so much like it did last year for him, I'm always concerned like,
oh yeah, it's always a possibility.
You know, it's just like every time he gets hit hard, I'm always like, oh, is he gonna get up? Does he look like he's you know, flexing a little bit?
But I think the greatest, you know, to me the two biggest surprises are Christian Kirk.
Oh yeah, that's
you know, again talking about offensive coordinators and head court. Did we disrespect him? I think we were just a lot of unknown. We didn't talk about him.
We felt like we disrespected the fact that everybody assumed he was being overpaid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, that was disrespectful.
He was not deserving of the type of money he got, and in reality, you know, you deserve whatever somebody's willing to pay you.
Yeah, and when you look at the other contracts compared to his now, in his fantasy production, you could say that like they got a deal. They got a deal. Yeah. But again, like another wide receiver where they are like lining them up in the backfield at times, they're moving them around the formation. You know, they are really like, and they're scheming it, you know, to get him open. You know, scheming to get him the ball. So
if you're gonna bring up Kirk,
and the last one too was Drake London. Go ahead.
You're gonna be able to talk about him. But if you're gonna talk about Kirk, also please mention Zay Jones. Yeah, I think Zay Jones is doing great. He actually led the team in targets and yards last year. I mean, last week, as well as scoring a touchdown. So don't forget about him. I think people still haven't really realized how well he's doing. Really, the Jaguars' offense as a whole. We already spoke about him a little bit, including the defense. But yeah, Zay Jones has really been doing well. And then you were going to say Drake London?
Yeah, I was, you know, and they like, you know, and you should know he was someone I was like really targeting late in drafts. I kind of came on late, and I wish I would have kind of, you know, been on him a lot earlier. But I just love the way he looks, and he seems like just such a perfect fit in that offense. Smooth. I think he can operate at all areas of the field. You know, he looks like he has explosion. I think he's someone like. Not to like get too far ahead as far as 2023 drafting, but he's someone I'm gonna be like very, very high on. I don't think there's a round where like, you know, outside of the top three where you know, I'm not gonna be targeting him heavily.
So it's crazy because when I was watching Drake London this last game, I've seen two of their games now. I've seen all of them, but I really watched and paid attention to two of them. It's almost like Drake London has taken the role of what we wanted Kyle Pitts to take, or what people wanted Kyle Pitts to take. He's that red zone target.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting those, you know, matriculate down the field type targets, you know.
Yeah.
And it's honestly he has the size of a tight end too. He's a big
There goes
possession.
Mostert. Oh.
He's
see, they said he was back to full speed, but he's not back to full game speed. He does not look like his 49. Oh, he's already got the job. That's why before the game I told you I'm sitting all Edmonds.
Yeah.
And if I have Mostert's getting in there. But you can see that like he's not fully back to that 49ers, you know, just game breaking speed.
You're
still finding his way back.
You're playing Mostert right now?
In like
I don't
a
think
couple
you can
lines.
play Mostert, man.
Oh yeah, you can. I mean, he's the amount of snaps that he's seeing and carries, the touches that he's seeing, and
But you said it yourself. The Dolphins, when they're getting close to the end
he's
zone,
not someone I'm trying to play.
Okay.
Like I played him in DFS over Edmonds, and I think maybe in 1 or 2 leagues where I
You had a lot
really
of
needed a
Edmonds.
running backs. Yeah, I pretty much said Edmonds across the board. Edmonds, you definitely can't play. But now with Bridgewater, I feel like Mostert becomes more of a play because
We'll
I do think the offense is limited with Bridgewater.
We'll see. I don't even know what I was talking about before I was interrupted. So
This is the problem with podcasting with a game on. Sorry,
Right.
sorry, listeners.
All right. So let's play this game one more time. I'm going to give you the top 5 receivers. Tell me who's most
wait.
likely.
That's right. We were talking about Drake London. I wanted to piggyback off of that. That notion is, and I was saying it the last episode we had.
Yeah.
These rookie, and you actually made the comment that I was saying.
Yeah.
These rookie wide receivers.
Yeah.
The way, and I'm gonna even lean into this even more going forward. But these rookie wide receivers during draft season, because there's so much unknown, we don't know how good they're going to be. I feel like they're all undervalued because once we now see them on the field, and it's only we're about to get into week 4, and you're already saying next year you're going to probably draft them high. You know, so these guys that we were drafting these middle part of the drafts, they're all going up in value. Dotson's going up. Dobbs is going up. Burks, he started to, do a little something. He's gonna come up. All these guys, what's his name? Garrett Wilson, he's coming up in value.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of those wide receivers except for Pickens maybe and Alec Pierce, and it's still early for them. We can still see, and also Sky Moore. We can still see all those guys show out. So
You holding on to Sky Moore?
He's not holding on to Sky Moore.
me?
Yeah. He probably didn't even have any Sky Moore.
I have very, very few Sky Moore.
I was gonna say.
I'm not holding on to him.
All right. So top 5 receivers: Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Told you.
Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. That rounds out the top 5. Who's most likely going to be bumped out of that top 5?
With a Tua injury, I'd probably say Waddle. But he won't be far behind. But I'd probably say Waddle.
I would say Waddle too, just because he's not the main beneficiary on that team. Or I'm not even gonna say he's not the main because that's to be determined. It's just that there's another wide receiver that can also get those amount of target, and also could be in the top 5 by the end of the season. I don't think those other receivers have a guy that can be in the top 5 that they're playing with.
All right, guys. So let's move to tight end. I think tight end is actually more of a surprise than anything because
I feel like it has not been at all.
I didn't see Conklin being what is he?
That was literally our. Were you not listening to us the entire offseason?
I drafted.
That was literally our strategy.
I'm so disappointed.
All these guys in the middle range, ignore.
No. I know that was what we were
literally
saying.
in the one draft that we did all together.
We got Conk, but
who do we get? We got Ingram, Njoku, Higbee.
Conklin.
And Conklin, right. No.
We got all 4 of those
we
guys.
didn't get Conklin. We picked him up later.
We ended up picking him up week 1.
We drafted Komet.
We let him go quick.
We shot him real quick.
But did you see Conklin being
gone?
We
knew, get out of here.
We knew we were too high on this.
Kick rock. Shoot.
Did you see Conklin being a top 3 tight end though? Honestly, top 3.
No, I didn't see him being a top 3. But we talked about this all off season. They kept talking about how he was getting a lot of targets. He was one of their most targeted wide receivers. I think I'm not surprised. I think I'm more surprised that Flacco was also seemed to be his favorite. I wasn't as surprised to hear that Zach Wilson was favoring him too. We'll see how much it continues. I don't, with those type of weapons, I think if Conklin is leading you in targets, I think that's an issue. That's just.
I think the biggest discussion really is not so much about Conklin because you're saying that were you expecting to see him in the top 3? Of course, you're not expecting to see anybody really in any slot. Really, what you're betting on is talent and role. With Conklin, for me personally, Y'all know I was the guy on
Waddle
Conklin
pulling up
last
his
year.
shoulder.
You were.
Y'all remember the first day I brought up Conklin in
were.
our group
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah.
Like for me, I always believed in the talent.
Yeah.
So that was already checked off.
Yeah.
The only question now was the role. And like Abby was saying, we were hearing Conklin was, becoming a blanket for, Zach Wilson, and people were talking about how he's going to have a big season. So now that it's actually playing out, and again, I already believe the talent was there, he's actually showing what he's able to do.
That statement is so important, though. Like, I believed in the talent because, it's one thing to like say, okay, I'm gonna take a shot at this guy and draft him. It's another thing to say, I'm gonna put him in my starting lineup.
Yeah.
And being able to start Conklin from literally week 1 in certain leagues, or definitely
2
at the
for
week
me.
2.
Yeah.
And starting them week 3, like you got all those points.
Yeah.
Even Njoku, someone like who I ended up like being like very high on, I can't call that a win because I started him week 1. Didn't put up much. Week 2 was like very meh as well. And then I was like, you know what? I haven't seen what I
You
wanted.
set him for week 3,
You set him
and
for
then he
week
goes
3 and he
off.
went off.
Yeah.
So that's a loss. It doesn't matter where he ranks in those top 3 weeks. That's a loss if you didn't start him. To me, your like accuracy when it comes to starting a player that you draft is so much more important than you just drafting a guy. If that guy's on your bench, it's irrelevant.
It's so significant.
So for me, like I can't tout being on a guy, him going off, but then I didn't start him. But someone like Conklin, someone like Curtis Samuel, feeling confident and putting them in the lineup and then getting the production, that's why I love playing the game. These guys that we draft in the first 5 to 6 rounds, minus Daryl Mooney, but the guys that we draft like early, like they're just in your lineup. They're gonna have some bad games, they're gonna have some good games. Like Waddle's not having a great game, Chase not having a good game, but I don't even think twice about that. People who complain about Justin Jefferson, I don't even think twice about that. He's just in the lineup. Like whatever he produces is what he produces.
Yeah.
Like you're not even thinking like if you listen to people who were like, spending more than 15, 20 minutes talking about why Justin Jefferson's doing this and that, like you're probably wasting 20 minutes of your life because it's not going to make a difference as whether or not you like have him in your lineup or not,
It's about where he's going to finish overall.
Like I said, like I was trying to say, I don't think we should be talking so much about Conklin and him being where he's ranked. I think the more important discussion is really the other tight ends that we expected to actually be there. Why are they not there? Specifically, your Kyle Pitts.
Oh, there go the Chase.
Your
That'll make Chase sound as happy.
this man cannot concentrate while he's watching the game.
Bro, I told y'all this.
Your Kyle Pitts, what's going on with him? Your Darren Waller, what's going on with him?
Schultz, too.
Schultz injury, but still, he hasn't really done much. Same thing with George Kittle, injury. He came back last week. He didn't really do much. You can excuse that or whatever. But really, all these other tight ends, your Hawkinson, he's not really doing much. Goddard's doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
I would say
but he's not getting a lot of targets himself. He's just been kind of efficient.
He's been okay.
Yeah.
So, and I see a lot of people on Twitter kind of talking about it, but tight end position has kind of been a waste field. It's like guys that you had high hopes for, like your Pat Freiermuth, people like that. Your Komet's. Oh, Komet's killing people.
Oh, yeah.
You should not be. Please do not be starting Komet at this stage.
It makes me feel more assured of my approach that I was doing a lot this year, where I was like, let me get these super duper late tight ends who actually happen to be the ones that are producing. Like you said, your Njoku's, your Evan Ingrams, your Tyler Conklins, people like that.
Tyler Higbee.
Are you
sure you want to draft?
I remember that. Like, he's like, why are we
because now
drafting
we get to choose
this many tight ends?
Really, the problem is we shouldn't have drafted Komet.
Right.
We should have drafted
Komet. Yeah.
That was the problem. Every other title we got later, actually hit for us. But and just full disclosure, I was taking Mo Alley Cox too and Jonathan Smith, but I let them go. But I took them so late, as well as Conklin, it didn't matter. I was able to figure out which one I wanted to keep. I think. And again, the reason why these players, we were on them, your Conklins, your Njokus, because they had the roles. We assumed they would have the roles, and we believed in their talent. So once the two married each other, obviously fantasy points.
Hoopers were dropped too. It was kind of on Hooper for a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so top 5 tight ends: Mark Andrews, as expected, Travis Kelce, Tyler Conklin, Zach Ertz, Tyler Higbee. Who's most likely not going to be in the top 5 by the end of the season?
Say that list one more time.
Andrews,
Zach Ertz.
Kelce, Conklin, Ertz,
Higbee.
I'm gonna go with Ertz because Ertz right now is having to see targets out of necessity. I think he'll still be productive, but I don't think he's going to see the target share that he's currently seeing right now. Once you get D-Hop back, you get Rondale Moore back. These guys are going to be healthy. Now you seeing what kind of Dortch can do as well.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think Rondale Moore is going to have that same?
He better have a better role than that. I mean, I think he'll have that and more potentially. But the thing with Rondale, and this is unfortunate, and I knew this going back to college. This was a thing. This was a knock on him. Not just not being able to stay healthy, but at the hamstring. Mm-hmm. He's always had hamstring issues. Yeah. So it's one of those things where this will probably be the last year where I'm like really in on Rondale Moore at any significant draft capital.
And he's gonna go off next year.
So right.
I mean, if that costs, if he's going pretty late, I'll draft him. But if he ends up doing well this year, takes over the Christian Kirk role, and finds his self in the 7th, 8th round, I'm be like, I may question that just whether or not he can stay healthy. So,
well, even if he has a good year, next year he's not gonna be no higher than wide receiver 3 on the team. Like Hopkins not going away, Hollywood's not going away, so he's gonna be the wide receiver 3 at the most.
That's true. But I could see, honestly, I could see him pushing, I could literally see him pushing Marquise Brown for targets. I could 100% see that.
That's Kyler's homeboy. And they're going to pay him, too.
I know that's Kyler's. I don't necessarily know that they're going to pay him.
Well, they traded him. He has a contract I think they even said they were negotiating, so.
Yeah.
I
don't know what they're going to pay him. Oh, man. Mixon owners got to be pissed right now.
Yeah.
No, they're just being greedy. You got your touchdown.
This is they only up by 5. A 3 just puts them up by 8. They want to get this touchdown. I say a play action pass here to tight end.
Not a chase. So I say Conklin only because all those other tight ends, they've been there before. Mm-hmm. They have the history of being able to sustain. I don't really see any major things occurring. You brought up Ertz. Yeah. Hopkins is coming to the fold. Really, that's just the only factor, Rondale Moore. But other than that,
Conklin and Hurts likely not.
Yeah,
Hurts.
Conklin.
Both of those guys are likely.
And again, I mentioned Waller, Kittle, and Pitts.
Yeah,
are still
they're going to do something. Yeah, you could probably even throw in Schultz in there.
Yeah, Higbee's a question mark because they're just missing. They're missing a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Man, I told y'all. Man, I told y'all, Allen Robinson. I told y'all. I had no play action pass. Who was it? Tight end. Told you.
You called it.
Oh, they called it's probably a hold on.
They called a flag? They threw a flag?
I think it was a holding on the DB.
I didn't see
because I think Chase ran a route too out there.
I don't see a flag though.
We got no flag.
Who's that? Hurst? Oh man, I said Hurst too.
Yeah, it was on defense.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to quarterbacks for a second. Listen, man, the quarterback position. My boy Lamar showing up.
Your boy.
Yeah, my boy. Yes. I drafted the hell out of Lamar. And I'm the one who said that they should have paid him and that he should have sat out.
Yeah.
Until he got paid.
Okay.
But no. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment. To me, biggest surprise is Carson Wentz being a top 5 quarterback fantasy-wise at this point. Listen, we had a whole episode.
Carson Wentz is a top 5 quarterback?
Yeah.
Top 5 quarterback.
I started that man week 1, and I started him week 2. Yeah, I sat him week 3. I may play him week 4.
Listen, we had a whole episode questioning whether Carson Wentz was broken.
Did you see him last game?
Last season.
Did you see him last game?
He's a matchup play.
Yes.
He's a matchup quarterback play.
I think with that first game, and I even think the second game, their defense was so bad.
Yeah, that's the beautiful
thing. They literally
thing.
just had to keep throwing the ball to try to keep up.
The beautiful thing is they cannot run the ball because Antonio Gibson cannot run the ball.
Yeah, he's not doing it.
So everything has to come through the air, and he has playmakers, including Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. Mm-hmm. So he can be garbage as long as he's getting the balls at some degree of accuracy.
He just has to keep doing that because there's been whispers, questioning his job security.
I doubt that.
No, there has. They have to actually answer to that, saying they're going to let Wentz play out the whole season.
They traded for him.
He's just taking up for his boy Taylor Heineke.
If you say the name Taylor Heineke,
he's taking up for his boy Taylor Heineke.
Honestly, I didn't even realize Heineke.
Oh, you didn't know?
No,
come on.
No, when I'm
you
thinking
were
about
a
the
big
backup,
Heineke fan last year.
No, they're not going to. I was thinking if they're going to replace him with that rookie who they like. Sam Howell. I think
Okay.
all these rookie
can see-
quarterbacks, I feel like if the quarterback
Yeah.
in front of them struggle, they're going to get an opportunity because otherwise, because really with these rookies, late rookies,
Yeah.
if you can't see what you got now, you're not going
Yeah.
to hold them for years and then see later.
Yeah.
You got to see what you have right now. Same thing, you can look at Desmond Ridder. If Mariota struggles, I see Ridder getting in there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, same thing we with Tannehill. Tannehill struggles, Willis will get in there, you know? So, as long as Howell isn't trash, I think he'll jump Heineke if there is a...
Yeah, he should because you want to see what you have in your future. I'll say this, like, you know, definitely. I think that for me the biggest surprise from a quarterback position, I shouldn't be all that surprised, but just disappointment. Disappointment is a better word. It's been Kyler Murray, and I don't know why I'm disappointed. Man, I just love seeing all these Tyreek Hill targets. Keep going, baby. All right, yeah, it's just disappointment, and I don't know why I'm disappointed because like it's much of the same, like. It's the same offensive system. It's the same like mundane play calling. It's we knew that they were going to be like kind of lacking weapons to start the season. Now they've had some more injuries as well. Who was the other guy who played the X last year?
Antoine Wesley.
Antoine, he's been injured.
Hurt.
Yeah, he's still hurt, right?
Yeah.
I think getting him back. You know, I don't. If I see AJ Green on the field, I'm gonna break something.
God.
So like, but I honestly think getting Antoine Wesley back would be huge because they lack that. Because I do not think that Marquise Brown is that guy. I think Marquise Brown needs to be the guy that extends
he got
the
like
field.
14, 15 targets.
I know, but they were 14 ineffective targets. They were like 14 ineffective targets that did nothing.
He was on Jalen Ramsey and he was like getting those catches.
No, he was not on. Jalen Ramsey doesn't.
He was. They were talking
They
trash.
They don't shadow. He may have got like
but I'm
one or
telling
two.
you, they were talking trash to each other
Look,
during
I'll tell
the
you,
game.
Marquise Brown is not that dude.
I mean, I'm just saying he was being held by Ramsey. He got like 1 million targets and he was actually getting them.
But not all of those were on Ramsey.
Not all of them, but a good amount of them were.
I don't necessarily know about that. But anyway, what I'm saying is he's still not that dude. Like him as your like number one wide receiver is not gonna win. Is like not gonna make your team better.
But he's not gonna be the number one. He's gonna be the number two.
I don't know. If he's gonna be the number two. What I'm saying is his best role is as a field stretcher, and that can still be very, very valuable for fantasy. I'm just saying I don't want him being like the possession receiver. That's not what his job is.
I mean, again, he had like 14 targets, so he kind of played the possession receiver
And did well with
last
them.
week.
And did well with them.
He had over 100 yards, I believe.
On 14 targets.
I mean, I'm just saying, who else did they have? They had no.
I'm just a Marquise Brown.
They
It's
had
crazy to
Ertz.
think I was like the biggest Marquise Brown fan.
You were.
I was
You
like
wanna
drafting
back me
all
up.
about Marquise Brown.
So you're disappointed in him. Like you're like.
I'm not disappointed in Marquise Brown. No, it's not. I'm not. I don't want to make this about Marquise Brown. I'm talking about I'm disappointed in the offense.
Okay.
And part of my disappointment and my issues with the Marquise Brown thing is that, or what I'm saying is, once guys are healthy, once we get those possession wide receivers in, once we get a slot wide receiver in, then Marquise Brown can kick out to his role of being the field stretcher, where I think that will allow the offense to open up.
I see.
Because right now he's forced to be the possession receiver, and there's no one who can really extend the field. They had this sort of kind of, air raid offense where they have like 4 or 5 wide receivers out on the field, and it's all like horizontal passing. There's no one really extending the field. There's no deep threat. But I think once they put them on the outside, when we get Hopkins back, when hopefully we get Rondale Moore back, that will open up the field, and that will allow Kyler to be Kyler. So I'm still holding out hope for Kyler. I just was hoping more from an offensive scheme standpoint that they would be able to do a little bit better.
It doesn't seem like he's running as much this year.
I know, and that's hurting.
I don't know if it's due to the defense, like corralling him in,
Yeah.
like containing him in the pocket, or the offensive game plan is to actually throw it more than actually have design runs.
Probably a little bit, who knows?
bit of
But
both.
part of that too is like who are defenses scared of going deep? Because Marquise Brown is really going deep.
Yeah.
They're not. No one's worried about Isabella.
Yeah, and they haven't really showed much out of Connor either to really have people nervous about the RPO.
Nobody's concerned about any of those things.
The whole offense as a whole has just kind of been, underwhelming.
But I do think I'm not gonna give up on Kyler just yet. I do think that like if we get these weapons back, if Marquise Brown can be the field stretcher, we have more guys that defenses are concerned about. I do think that even with Cliff as a play caller, that this can be an explosive offense, and then that'll open things up for Kyler when defenses have to dedicate two DBs to keeping Marquise Brown, underneath the defense. Yeah.
You know who we are giving up on?
Who?
Russell Wilson.
I'm not giving up. I'm starting Russell Wilson this week
What?
with confidence.
No.
Man, I'm telling you,
I'm out.
Russell
Count me
Wilson
out.
was always Russell Wilson is a matchup play. There are certain quarterbacks who are matchup plays, and you just gotta I feel very, very confident actually in starting Russell Wilson.
If he's playing a team like the Texans, is he a matchup play?
Say what?
If he's playing a team like the Texans,
No, because they could have just run against the Texans.
Okay,
He needs to be up against a team that can score points.
Okay,
That can at least have some type of offensive competency, but a team that has a defense that will allow him to, extend the field, throw the ball deep.
okay.
And I think that's basically what we'll be able to see with the Las Vegas Raiders. Outside of one cornerback, they don't really have anybody that you're concerned about in the secondary.
I don't know. I just don't feel confident.
I don't think he's
in the
good.
Russ-
I don't think he's good. I don't think he has a talent. Honestly,
I mean, people said
Well,
the
I
same
think
thing
he
week
had
one
the talent.
when it came to starting Wentz. Some
Yeah.
of these guys you just gonna start with confidence.
Yeah, but the thing is, Wentz is producing with talent. Like, Russ has talent. He got Jerry Jeudy. He has Cortland Sutton. He's thrown 2 touchdowns all season.
That stuff is going to correct itself. That's not going to happen.
Oh, no,
and then when Russ has his big game, it's going to be like, oh, they've corrected the offense. Oh, Russ got it. He's not going to go they're not going to go the entire season struggling that much in the red zone. It's just not going to happen. I guarantee it.
It don't look good.
It does.
I'm not saying you can
look
definitely
like they waste their money.
Yeah.
No, from that standpoint, from the standpoint of is he, one of the quarterbacks that you should have drafted to be the number one? No, he's not looking good. But as far as am I going to drop him? Am I not going to bench him the entire time?
I don't. A player like him, I wouldn't even recommend dropping because if he does turn out to be valuable, you just gave a gift.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So then you're not giving up on him. Because if you were truly giving up on him, you would drop him and you would sabotage. You would do a sabotage drop.
Yeah, but
there's
some players I give
laying
up
out
on.
traps.
I give up on, but at the same time, I give up on them and it's almost like that John Wall stuff. We don't want you part of the team,
But we want you to be a mentor.
You John Wall them, huh?
you ain't gonna dress out for the game, but just
look, man, you can dance in the background.
yeah,
man,
but we just don't come around for practice or anything like that. We'll call you when we need you.
Yeah, show up for the photo shoot. That's it.
Right. All right, guys, let's talk about defenses because we kind of talked about them a little bit. Listen, I like this Baltimore Ravens defense fantasy-wise, not necessarily NFL-wise.
Yeah.
Their top 5 defense, I believe, 3, 4, right into the top 5. That's my biggest surprise. Again, they were banged up last season, so I kind of expected them to do well, but not to be a top 5 defense. They look decent. They get a lot of turnovers, 3 interceptions, I believe, last game. They get a lot of turnovers. Who's the biggest surprise so far? I think I know the answer, but who's the biggest surprise when it comes to defense?
Not the Ravens.
So you saw the Ravens being a good defense?
No, man, that defense is trash.
For fantasy, though.
No, man, I'm telling you, they had a kickoff return. They had a couple, they played the Jets.
That's a part of the game.
Yeah.
That's like saying,
you're gonna be disappointed.
The
for
Bears special
a few
teams
weeks.
had Devin Hester.
Next 4 or 5 weeks, you're gonna be disappointed. Devin did you literally just compare?
I did not. What I'm saying is,
You realize
you
Devin
cannot
Hester,
discount.
Devin Hester is in the Hall of Fame because of his kick return.
You kind of did though.
No, I did. What I'm saying is, that is a part of defense and special teams.
Okay, so how many more
opinion over here?
How many kick returns is
They don't
Devin
need to.
Duvernay?
They scored the same amount of points.
How many
without the kick return? I don't know. What I'm saying is,
I'll
they
bet
have
you right now that
scored
he
the
is
same.
0.
Maybe. But that defense has scored 11 points before without getting a kick return.
They played the Jets.
All right. Well, then.
So basically, draft teams that play the Jets or that play, the Patriots.
All right. So you're just going to discount the Miami game. All right.
Why is he upset?
All right. I'm just saying, you just go. I mean, you can't.
I'm not discounting the Miami game. I'm just saying it's important to realize that they return the opening kickoff. That's 6 points.
All right. So the 3 interceptions they got versus Mac Jones, who don't throw the ball that much and who doesn't
versus Mac Jones, who like basically I think he came into the game banged up.
All right. So
Versus Mac Jones. Don't you think Mac Jones is a fraud? Like, aren't you like the biggest Mac Jones hater?
Yeah, I think
so.
He's
why
a
are you
fraud.
surprised that he threw 3 interceptions?
Because I don't think that Mac Jones throws the ball deep, and I don't think he throws in the coverage. I don't think he throws short little dump offs. And to get 3 interceptions against Mac Jones, I think that's something to keep an eye on.
So the surprise defense for me. Are y'all finished? By the way,
go ahead. Yeah.
So the surprise defense for me is actually the Bills.
The Bills?
Yeah. Now they were the first defense I saw drafted in most drafts.
Yeah.
So
early too.
People. But I always looked at those picks like you're drafting the defense way too high.
Yeah.
Historically, and I say that like I have like the numbers in front of me. I just be bullshitting. But historically, like every draft season, the first defense we take, once the season play out, doesn't end up being the top defense. Like every year that it's like the defenses rotate. You know who the top defense is. So with everybody drafting Buffalo first, and then them actually proving that they were worth that pick to some extent, that surprises me. Now the season might still play out. They're obviously dealing with a lot of injuries right now. This last game, their whole secondary was out.
Yeah.
And you know,
I think
Miami,
they may have lost a linebacker.
Yeah, Miami was obviously able to kind of beat them. So you know, they might come down to earth a little bit more. But the way they just dismantled the Rams. Yeah. And then who was that second team they played on primetime? Was it Monday Night Football?
Titans.
The Titans.
Yeah.
The way they just kind of killed them both games on primetime, it was just embarrassing. It was just like wow, like that.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, in my home league, somebody dropped the Bills yesterday, and I really looked at it like wow, like how did you drop the Bills? And I definitely put in a waiver claim for them. So.
I think my favorite or my surprise defenses have been a couple. I think I got to put the Jags up there, just given where I thought that they were going to be. They look, not just competent, but look like they really get after it. And I like how they play from a defensive standpoint, particularly in this league where they don't need to blitz a lot. Like their front, their D line can get a lot of pressure. So I'm interested to see kind of where that goes. Philly defense looks very, very good. Their D line looks, really good. The cornerbacks are playing very, very well right now. That may be like kind of, that and their O line maybe actually be the best parts of the team. To be honest. And then who's the last one? There was one other team that. Two. The Bucs defense look really, really good. They look really, really good. And I think in the right matchups, they're a team that looks like they could really be weak winners for you. And then the Green Bay Packers defense, I know in leagues that I'm in, they're not on the waiver wire. They've been picked up, or I spent a lot of fab trying to get them. I love the upcoming schedule, but I love what I saw against the Bucs. I know the Bucs were depleted. I know they struggled, that first week against Minnesota. But I think that D line is, or that defense as a whole is going to figure things out. And I think that's a defense also that could, really do a lot of damage as far as create turnovers.
Who's the Packers pass rusher? Their main pass rusher.
Yeah, they lost. I couldn't even give you the name of them, to be quite honest.
By the way, Jacksonville, Philly, they play this week, both 3rd and 4th ranked defenses according to FFPC. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see this week.
I think what's going to really be evident or revealed from that game is really who Jalen Hurts really is. I think that's really a test for Jalen Hurts because I'm not saying the Jags are world beaters. I don't know what they are. They might be, they might not be, but they're a defense that is to be respected. They're good on all 3 levels. Yeah. So if Jalen Hurts can really show what he's been showing against them with very little resistance, I think that Eagles team is a ridiculous threat.
Surprisingly, the Atlanta Falcons defense is a 7th ranked defense.
I think they've had a lot of touchdown returns, maybe 2, and that skews a defense's numbers quite a bit. The only problem with the Falcons is I don't see any game in which they're probably going to favor. I think they're always going to be underdogs, which means they're not really going to be able to dominate a team. Yeah. It's always going to be a game where
their secondary is so-so. They got, one good corner.
Yeah, they got AJ Terrell.
They got Grady Jarrett.
Jackson.
So Jarrett,
they got some guys, but there's going to be matchups where you're not going to like playing them.
Yeah.
And really, I don't really see any specific matchup against a weak opponent where you might say, I want to play him. And even when you do play him, it's probably not going to be a confident insertion into your lineup. So
Yeah.
How disappointed are you in this New Orleans defense? Like, that was a defense that I had nearly across the board. And they're, third worst defense in the league, according to FFPC. Like, I'm just dropping New Orleans. Their offense is too bad for them to their
really
offense
the
is
big
hurting their defense.
It's the offense.
Yeah,
That's the
I agree with that.
We thought that because they kept their offensive coordinator, it was going to be the same offense. I don't see the same offense.
No.
I honestly think that there is a decent chance that we could see Winston getting benched.
I think he might already be benched.
I think that they are going to hold him out, and maybe this is wishful thinking and wishful hoping for all my Kamara shares. But I watched too many games where he's just constantly looking to make some big play. And you listen, I mean, we all have seen the Winston videos. We've heard the interviews. So you can pretty much just extrapolate that same personality to on-field play. Like, I'm convinced of that now. Like, he has zero interest in checking it down. He has all the interest in the world in terms of being the guy, making the big plays, throwing the ball up and, just, hoping for the best and hoping his guys come down and get it with, as opposed to just like, man, Alvin Kamara is right there open in the flat. Like, if you hit him against that linebacker, like, he could do damage.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm sorry to interject, and we'll go, but when I was talking about those rookie wide receivers, I forgot to mention Olave.
Yeah.
He might be at the very top.
Yeah.
He might be at the very, very top end. But with that being said, going back to what you're saying, with Dalton potentially taking the job, do you think that's going to hurt Olave? Because Olave is the air yards leader,
absolutely,
in the league.
Yeah, and the air yard
top 3 or something.
Yeah, and for me, the air yards sound like a
I mean, it's just a way. A way to show that players running the deep routes a lot and targeting him a lot.
Yeah, and I think Olave is more than that. Like, I think he's more than that. So I think if Michael Thomas continues to get hurt, then I think it's not going to hurt Olave too much because maybe he loses out on those air yards. But guess what?
Michael Thomas is out, he's going to take Michael Thomas's role.
Yeah, but guess what? Like, if Michael Thomas is out, he takes over those, he replaces those air yards that led to, like, at times not a lot of fancy points with like high,
high percentage.
Exactly. But if Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry are healthy, I think it hurts. I think it hurts quite a bit. Because you could even see Juwan Johnson now performing a little bit better. Man. But I think Kamara really starts to,
Juwan Johnson, it's still up to be determined because Adam Troutman played a lot last game too.
Yeah, but he blocks a lot.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Juwan Johnson is just running around. And I'm not starting Juwan Johnson. I had my Juwan Johnson last year. But I'm not playing him this year, but I do think Kamara could benefit from Dalton. I'm hoping, and I think this team, the defense is that good, and they have that amount of weapons that you just need somebody who's going to operate the offense, who's not going to turn the ball over, who can move the ball. Like these last minute heroics, like not being able to move the ball the entire game. That's going to help out everybody. It's going to help out all my Lutz shares.
Yeah. And the contract they gave Winston,
you still hold on to Lutz.
Say what?
You still hold on to Will Lutz? Yeah.
Still holding on to Will Lutz, man.
I think the contract they gave Winston is going to make it easy for them to move on from.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really holding back. If it's just evident that Dalton is the better option, and Dalton is going to get his opportunity to prove he's the guy.
Yeah.
And if he does it, then hey, sorry, Winston. It's on to the next.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's talk about kickers last. I hate to talk about kickers last because I think kickers are an important part of fantasy, and I think it's often overlooked. I can't seem to get it right. Does Linda still put out her weekly list of kickers?
But it's on a website now, and it's not like her specific list.
Okay.
It's like one of those things where they have other analysts, and they all have their rankings.
Yeah.
And it's all listed.
I just want Linda's list. I just want her.
Yeah, they give a composite of all the rankings, but then you can click on her name, and it will show just her list.
Okay.
So it doesn't look as nice as what she used to do.
Yeah.
She used to break it down so
that was
nice
clutch.
in her Linda way.
Yeah.
And she had colors and everything.
Was she accurate week 3?
I don't think
week 3 there was a lot of kicker duds. Like, I mean, there was a lot of kicker duds.
I don't think so.
Last year she was clutch.
Yeah,
listen, like she was clutch.
But this, like I said, this one she doesn't have the colors. I think that hurts a lot. 'Cause
Yeah.
the colors were allowing her to show what she was very, very confident in.
Yeah.
What she was like, this is a subtle play. But now it's literally just rankings, like 1 through 32. So.
No. Linda, if you listen to this
She
pod,
don't listen to us, man.
I know, but still, if
don't
you
listen
listen to
Hey,
this pod,
and somebody who
may
knows
know
Linda,
Yeah,
or who
yeah.
knows someone who
Yes.
knows Linda.
color code,
back.
how strongly you are in the
Color
Kickers.
code, man. We'll pay for
I
it.
bet it's a situation where she works less, though, and gets paid more, though.
Probably.
Because she's with
Yeah.
a company now.
Yeah.
She's with the Matthew Berry Fantasy Life group.
Okay.
So-
You still blocked by Matthew Berry?
I guess, yeah. I don't see why I wouldn't be. I don't. There's no people like Matthew Berry. I don't care to follow him because he's not really giving me any information that I can't get anywhere else. Like Matthew Berry is more for the subtle.
That doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're blocked by Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got access to the site.
Right.
I know, right?
Oh man.
No, this is just a website. Anybody can go. You don't have to subscribe or anything. So
All right, guys. So, how do you feel so far about your fantasy teams? Are you just like, you know what? I'm not even really looking. Like, this is too early for me to kind of gauge how well I'm doing, or do you feel pretty good about how you drafted this past season?
Man, I never feel good about how I drafted because I'm always like, if I didn't get it perfect, I'm just upset. And I know I'm never gonna get it perfect, but that's just kind of how I am. As far as kind of like, I got 3-0 teams, I got 0-3 teams, I got 1-2 teams, I got 2-1 teams. I mean, there may be like a few teams where I look at it and I'm like, this team is trash. This team is not going to make it. I don't care how much effort I put. I don't care how much I pray. I don't care how much I hit on Fab. This team is probably not going to make it. Now I'm still like, grind in that league. Nobody's going to get anything for free. But I can kind of look at that team and say, you know what? Like I made a lot of mistakes and I'm struggling. But that's very few. I think most teams I feel like, even if it's like an 0-3 team, I can feel, strong that like it's not going to take much for this team just to like catch fire, And I think that's how, with the way, every year is different. I feel like this year has been kind of unique in that the first 3 weeks have been these just like explosion performances. So it's really been like, have you had one of those or two of those guys that's exploded? Have you had a couple of those guys in your lineup who like got injured in games? And that can like really sway, a win-loss. So I honestly, I just don't even pay attention to the win-loss. I don't pay attention to points. I couldn't tell you where anything is ranked, where I'm like, we're in the league. I didn't even know we're in the league together, but we're in the league. I had no clue like where, I have no clue about any of this. It's really, what is this team doing?
you beat him.
Oh, I'm killing him right now, but it's all right. Good.
Really?
That's why he doesn't know.
You mean right now this week?
Well, no, I just lead in our league right now, so I just
See how
I was giving
why is he
him
talking so like that? But anyway, I'm not, so like for me, like, and this is always like, I just don't even pay attention to it. Like I had no, don't even pay attention to like standings, records, points, or anything like that. Really just focus on whatever team I got. Like, how can I get this team better? Like, how can I make this team better? Just grinding out, trying to score as many points as possible every week. Yeah. And that comes with like the kickers.
Yeah.
Damn it, Lutz.
Dio. So how are you doing so far? Like, do you know like overall just like kind of how you're faring so far, or are you just like? Nope,
I pay
I'm not
attention to
checking.
all of that. Pay attention very closely in real time, but excuse me. But I think there's not much to gather from what we've seen thus far because I haven't really seen too much consistency through these 3 weeks. Like I said, I've seen peaks and valleys from every single player across the board, and the few players that I haven't seen valleys from, they're getting injured. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's got hurt recently. Injuries have hit really hard, and I think it's like we're catching up to those injuries that we weren't seeing in training camp time. Now we're actually seeing them in the first 3 weeks, and, little hamstrings, ankles, things like that, things you come to expect. But I don't see certain players as like, if you don't have this player, other than, okay, there's 2 players that I would see that with, and that would be Lamar and Hurts. I feel like teams with those players are probably going to be doing solid because they've been doing so well. But other than that, there's not many players that I really look at and say, if you don't have this guy on your team, or if you have this guy on your team is doing great. So I think things are going to kind of average themselves out to some extent. I think there's teams like Abby was saying that are 0-3 that'll probably still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think there's teams that are probably 3-0 that probably will miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, it's that much variation at the moment. Now, you know, obviously it is a kind of a active process.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3-0 teams, I would hope they're not just kind of resting on the
relaxed.
laurels
Yeah.
and just saying this is that great. My team is great. Let me just ride it out. I would hope they're also grinding the waiver wire and make sure they're put their starts and sits properly. So, you know, obviously they can kind of keep it going, just kind of how they make adjustments. But just general player selection and team construct as is, I think things can change quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like hearing people maybe kind of feel like their season is over or they're giving up, because the big thing with FFPC, even bigger than really standing sometimes, is point total. You know, so you can have a team that's scoring like 120 week in and week out, and you're like nowhere near the top. But then like those last 4 weeks, if you just for some reason something happens and you hit 200 4 weeks straight, you can sneak in the tournament. You can be like at the very bottom. There was a team I had last year that I swear to you was like the bottom 3 team in the standings. Yeah. But I was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, so again, I pay attention to win-losses just because, I mean, that's just the basic nature of playing fantasy football. You want to win your matchup, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't let it really affect my approach or how I even view my team. If anything, if I lose, it just shows that there's other teams that are scoring a lot of points too, so I got to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like bulletin board material. You're like, did I win this? Like, let me look at this matchup. Damn, I lost this matchup. What? I started such and such over who?
Yeah.
Lock it away. Put that up on the bulletin board. Like, all right, we got to get better. We got to get back to the grind.
Okay, so you look
we got to get better. We got to get better.
You look at a player like Bateman, right? Bateman week 1. He did okay. I think he scored a touchdown. I think he had like 1 catch though.
Yeah.
Like this 1 long touchdown. Got like 2 targets.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, do you want to play him? Yeah, no. Then the next week, if you didn't play him, he scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Off, I want to say 2 or 3 targets, right? So it's like, wow, he had a lot of points.
But see,
then you play him in week 3, and he has a dud against like 2 or 3 targets.
But that's why I don't. For me, like start sits go beyond that. So, for instance, like we talked about the Chase Edmonds, he scored a touchdown tonight, but I don't think he really did all that much outside of that touchdown.
Right.
Knowing he scored 2 touchdowns last week, I had zero interest in playing him, and I would have been fine with whatever outcome because I knew based on the snap totals, I knew based on the carries, and and based on his usage that he was not someone that like I would have been okay starting, and if he didn't produce, I would have been pissed and mad at myself.
Yeah.
So like when I'm looking at like my start sit decisions, it's not necessarily that that this guy scored more points than the other guy. It's like, did I make the right call? I can be okay if a guy put up a dud. I have no issue with that.
Yeah, but if a guy blows up on your bench, you're gonna feel some type of way.
Not really. I really don't. I really don't. Like a Njoku.
A guy scores 30 points and he's just sitting on your bench.
Like
that Njoku hurt me.
So for me, like I had a lot of people like text me like, there he is, like, oh my God, he's on the bench, and like Njoku.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when he went off week 3, and like honestly, like I didn't feel any type of way about not starting him. Like, what led you to wanting to start him that week? You know, now if you had like if you felt like okay, the Steelers can't guard the tight end very well, you felt like he was going to be a big
you're a process over results type mindset.
In that situation,
yeah, I got.
I mean, in the end, results matter the most.
Exactly.
But in the end, results matter the most.
Yeah.
But the start sit decisions, you're making what 8 to 9 start sit decisions over a 17-week period. That's a lot of start sits throughout the entire course of the year. So there has to be some process in that. It can't be just like, because if we're always constantly chasing last week results, especially from like the non-high end guys, you're gonna end up with a lot of holes in your lineup.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was like I kept, texting you guys like, do I start Amari or do I start Hunt? Do I start Amari or do I start Hunt? And what I was doing was like, let me hedge until I can kind of figure this out. And now I kind of got to a point where, like, depending on the situation, obviously, where I feel like, okay, it's really just Amari unless I feel like this is just a bad situation for Amari, and so you try to refine the process. And that's kind of, I think that's kind of what I want to do from a start sit. Because I think start sits, it's like an underrated aspect of fantasy. The waiver wire is funny because all you got to do to figure out who's the top waiver wire ad is go through the box score. That's it.
Yeah.
Who blew up this week? Oh, Mac Hollins blew up this week. Let me throw like a $200 on Fab. What is the likelihood that Mac Hollins is going to be a thing throughout the week? Now, you can definitely play the Hunter Renfrow may not be healthy, may still have a concussion. Maybe they continue to double or bracket Devontae Adams. But, do I want to chase those points in that situation? And there's a lot of guys like that. I'm not just kind of zeroing in on him, but for me, like, I'm really trying to make sure that I make that accurate decision.
Matt Collins was producing a fair amount even before Renfrow went down.
Yeah, but enough to start. I think we started him last week because of the injury.
Right.
And because
I'm just saying, I think there's a non-zero chance Matt Collins might be a thing this year. If you really look at the situation, he's the wide receiver 3. They don't really have anybody else. Renfrow and him play different type of receiver roles. Renfrow can go deeper. Hollins can go deeper while Renfrow will be more of that, intermediate short zone. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But I just think he's one of those guys where he actually might.
I think if everybody's healthy, there's a tough guy to start.
Well, the only person that wasn't healthy was Renfrow. And like I said, I know before Renfrow got hurt last game, because Renfrow got hurt at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And he produced that whole game, Matt Collins. But we'll see. I mean, It's still early.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all we got for this week. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.
Peace.